And I have former executive director of the Gatehouse, author, motivational speaker, kung fu guru, Brad Hutchinson here with me today. We are starting a 4-part mini series called Midday Mindfulness for the next 4 weeks, and I've posted the dates online. I am so honored and privileged to be here with you all, spending an hour in total talking about mindfulness and doing some meditative mindful practices with our good friend Brad. I'm going to turn it to Brad, who's going to say a little bit about himself, and then he's going to get us started today. So thank you for being here, and we're going to have a great time. Thanks, Brad.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you for hosting this and putting this on. Thank everybody for joining in. I'm just going to start off, not so much about me, but with 2 stories. And these 2 stories are going to follow us through the 4 sessions. So we're just going to jump right in. There are 2 monks outside on a beautiful autumn day, and they're practicing mindfulness. There's a senior monk and a junior monk, and the only responsibility of the junior monk is to silently follow the senior monk around to learn about the deeper aspects of meditation, mindfulness, being present. They find themselves by a gently rushing river, and they sit down. Long after that, a scorpion is in the water, struggling for its life. The senior monk dips his hand in the water, lifts the scorpion, places it on a rock, and the scorpion scurries away. While he's doing this, the scorpion stings him. They sit for a little while longer. The scorpion finds itself in the water again, struggling for its life. The senior monk dips his hand in the water again, gently places it on the rock beside him, and the scorpion scurries away, and it stings him again. A little while passes, and this happens again, and the junior monk breaks his silence and says, "Master, why do you keep saving that scorpion when you know its nature is to sting you, to hurt you?" And the master looks the junior in the eyes and says, "Because it's my nature to save it." So let's keep that in mind as we're moving forward. And have you ever considered that you have a nature? Not just like human nature, which we all have, and I hope we have some pets in the room somewhere, but a nature specifically yours. You see, I believe that we all, every individual on the planet, has a gift to offer the planet that nobody else can. And I believe through your experiences, your unique window into the world, which is your mind, your body, your emotions, you see the world in a slightly different way than everybody else. And within that vision, there is wisdom that you can offer the world. But if you consider your nature, how has it been sidetracked, derailed, thrown off course because something in the external world harmed you? And I think everybody can put their hands up and say, yes, something in the external world. I mean, especially now, stress is at an all-time high, anxiety. These are things we need to manage so that our gifts can surface. We need to find ways and tools to release some of the things that are blocking our gifts from entering the world. Because if our gifts are locked inside of us, it doesn't feel good. It causes pain on 2 levels. It causes pain to you because you have energy inside that wants to expand and reach the world. And it causes pain to the world that needs your gifts. So while we're focusing and paying attention to everything that's happening in the world, we want to pay attention to what's keeping our gifts inside. So we're going to do that over 4 sessions. We're going to start to release some of the brakes that have been have been put on by the world, so that we can express ourselves into the world in the way that's unique to us. So the second story comes from a personal perspective. In my late teens and in my early to mid 20s, I had a career as a natural gas fitter. I would, go around in my truck and service and install residential natural gas appliances, furnaces, water heaters, stoves, barbecues, pool heaters, dryers, that kind of thing. In your furnace, there is, well, maybe not in yours because that was 100 years ago, and there is a thing in the furnace called a flame sensor. And if your furnace has a pilot light, what happens is there's a flame there, and it hits this flame sensor, and the flame sensor says to the valve, okay, you can open up and pour gas into the chamber. When your temperature from upstairs reaches, when the temperature goes down to a certain point, say you have it set at 70 degrees. Once it reaches below 70 degrees, this whole process happens. The furnace kicks in, heats up the house. When it goes above 70, it stops, that kind of thing. We're going to keep this in mind as we move through these 4 sections. What happens with the flame sensor, because it's always being hit by that pilot light, and it gets carbon buildup. So there's a flame there, and it's in the flame sensor, but it's not registering because there's corrosion, it's being blocked. So you can take 2 or 3 screws out, you pull it out, you put some steel wool on it, and you sand off some of the corrosion, you plug it back in, and it's all working again. How does this relate to what we're doing here? If you think about your gifts and your nature as being connected to the light, the love, God, Allah, whatever the universe, nature, the Tao, whatever it is, language you want to use that brought us into the world, we have like a sensor inside of us. What happens to that is the world hits us over and over again and clogs up our emotional selves. And we reside in low energy emotions most of the time, for many of us, especially now. I mean, if you want to know what, we're going to get into more emotions as we move through the 4 sessions. But if you look at what's happening through the social media streams, certainly what's happening in the US with the elections, all this divide and division, divide and conquer kind of mentality is putting people in lower level emotions. When you're in those lower level emotions, despair being right at the bottom, moving up to hatred, sadness, anger, if we stay in those emotions, then our connection to our source, whatever name you want to use, gets corroded. Now, we don't have any screws, so we can pull it out, clean it up, and plug it back in like we do in our furnace.
Why not?
But there are ways that we're Data from Star Trek. Maybe we could all
be.
But there are ways that we can spend a few minutes a day just to slightly clean off some of that corrosion that's blocking our light from coming out into the world. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So you have a nature, it's likely being repressed on some level, maybe on a major level. I work in the area of suicide intervention, and when you're down in those really lower level emotions, they turn in an attack. You go up a little bit, you get vengeance, hatred. They need to externalize. They need a target to try to thrust himself onto. We see it all the time. When we move up into higher level emotions of joy, happiness, hopefulness, optimism, those kinds of things, our vision expands. We're more resilient to the negative energy coming do over these 4 sessions is set an intention to increase our emotional set points so that when they go down, which they will in this world, that the natural something kicks in inside and says, well, you normally live up here and happiness and optimism and all of those things. And it's going down into maybe anger, maybe hatred. Those emotions are not bad. However, if we stay in them, they can be chronic and they shut off our life and they shut off the gifts that we have to offer the world. Making sense so far?
Yeah, total, Brad. One of the things that you said about those lower level emotions is they also affect the body, right? Like they traumatize the body if we hold on to them for too long. Like higher stress hormone cortisol is shot into your body, and that's not helpful to be in that state at all times or most of the time. It can lead to other physical problems, including as we know, cancers, anxiety, emotional stress. So it's really great that you're here today, Brad, and taking us through these different levels of thought around feelings and how they connect to the body and how they impact our experiences overall. I'm super excited to hear about what is Bodwa Jin and how it can help move some of that energy from the body.
Okay, so we're talking about mindfulness, and Bodwa Jin, we're going to do a couple of movements and maybe just a couple of lines about what is mindfulness. Mindfulness really is paying attention to your experiences, what's happening in your body, what's happening in your emotions, how you're seeing the world. And what's really key about mindfulness is not judging what you're seeing. It's like taking a step back. It's like you're in a movie theater and you're watching your life and you're looking at things and you're like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So you kind of want to, as best we can, detach ourselves from the states we're in so that we can see them from a different vantage point. Okay, they'll be there when you get back. Don't worry about that. But what that allows us to do, because sometimes we really hold on. We're going to talk about that in day 2, how we hold on and not open up, feels scary. Sometimes living in pain feels safer than doing something else because you've been doing it for so long. Habit is such a powerful force, and that's what we're going to initiate now. So mindfulness is simply paying attention to what's happening in your experience in the world. A few minutes a day saying, oh, because when you pay attention to your experience in the world, you can change it if you want to. So that's what we're going to get into. Bodwa Jin is a moving meditation, and it comes from the Shaolin. It's about 1,000 years old. The Shaolin are about 1,500 years old, but this particular series of movements, it's about 1,000 years old. And for me, anything that lasts 1,000 years and that is beneficial, to me, it has some reverence. It's moving meditation and the benefits of a moving meditation. As you know, Maria, many people that we work with to sit in a meditation, it's like torture, because when you sit down and still yourself, the mind goes on attack mode because those emotions are so much still alive, all the way from childhood trauma to getting cut off on the road. Those emotions stay alive. So to sit down is not easy for everybody just to be still. When we move, and I've worked with a lot of kids, teenagers and kids in school, and to ask them to sit in a meditation, it's the expectation is not always available to them. So when we ask them to move, we can show them how to move their bodies in a way that's mindful. And when we're mindful, we start to reset and recalibrate our emotional set points a little higher, because that energy's inside of us. Once we even get a little tiny avenue for the love that's within us to start to express itself, then we feel better. Life feels better. We start to set our emotional set points up. How's that sound so far?
That sounds great, Brad. I just wanted to check in to make sure that we're still streaming properly. I did something here in the back end. This is all new to us, right? So I'm hoping that everyone can still see. Yeah, it looks like it's online. Okay, great. Yeah, thank you for your patience, Brad. Again, like I said, I'm new to this, but it seems to be working okay. Thank you for sharing, Brad. I really appreciate that, especially the connection on how mindfulness is such a non-judgmental way of observing your experiences. And a lot of times we are taught to judge, like, is it good, is it bad, right? So looking at those experiences in our lives as neither good or bad, they are what they are. What is happening is what is happening. So even noticing when someone says something that comes from a lower play or a lower emotion, like they're blaming you for something, for example, to not own that right away, to observe what's happening for you as that's happening to you in that moment, and offering your own self some self-compassion and self-empathy, and without judging yourself as, oh, they're judging me, so it must be true, or they're saying these things to me, so I must have done something wrong right away, kind of thing. Just to observe what is happening for you. What are you thinking about? What are you feeling? And how are those thoughts and feelings impacting your life, and how mindfulness can help you work through some of those difficult situations, arguments with a partner, for example, so many different things. We use mindfulness in our programs at the Gatehouse to help survivors of childhood sexual abuse heal and recover from trauma, heal and recover from shame and guilt, and all these other emotions like anger, so that they can help release that from their life and have more empathy, self-compassion, self-love, all those good things that we all deserve to feel in life.
Right, that's so well said, Maria. And when we talk about lower level emotions, and I included anger in that, just putting out to everybody, is anger good or bad? And this is a rhetorical question. And when I ask this in workshops that I do, typically the answer that comes back is it's neither good nor bad. And that's true. When I often say, honestly, if you're not feeling anger sometimes in this world today, then you're not paying attention. There's a lot of injustice happening in the world today. And it's natural to feel anger. What I propose with anger is it's a step up the emotional scale resonance. So it can either send you two ways. It can send you down into lower resonance, vengeance, hatred, things that narrow and target and attack, or it can elevate you up towards joy, peace, and leaders. Just in the past century, Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., both felt anger, but they moved from love. They didn't move from fear. Those vengeance and hatred and attack emotions, they stem from fear.
Sorry, everyone. It seems we're having some technical difficulties. Sorry, Brad. We just had a little bit of a technical issue, but we'll keep going. Yeah, it's back now. It should be okay. Sorry, everyone. Again, Brad, can you hear me okay? There we go. And again, thank you everyone for your patience. This is our first episode on a full live stream across many channels. I'm hoping that Brad can hear us now. Brad, if you can give me a signal, let me know if you can hear. Beautiful. Sorry about that. Yes, so you were, please continue.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so in those instances, because we're doing this whole new world of virtual, if you're watching and it goes out, the idea would be doing mindfulness, breathe in and out, go to the bathroom if you need to, whatever. But
Sounds good, Brad. Sometimes your audio does cut out just a little bit, so it might be the microphone. Is it back on to that same mic? Yeah, it is. Okay, great. It is. It is on. Thank you, Brad. Yeah, it's for some reason it doesn't sound as it did before. It's a little bit better. The internet seems to be lagging just a little bit. Don't we love it when these kinds of things happen and we are like, okay, let's practice some mindfulness. There's nothing much that we can do aside from bear with the internet, and it should come back.
There you are.
There we go. I'm wondering, Brad, if you have us plugged in directly to a Ethernet cable at home, or you're on your Wi-Fi, because sometimes that makes a difference for anyone watching if you're streaming anything.
Yeah, I'm on Wi-Fi. My internet, it seems strong.
Okay, it seems to be back again, Brad, so please continue. Thank you.
Is that happening on my end?
Yes, it should be okay now. I see that you have strong internet signal again, so it should be okay.
Okay, let's see. Are you there? You're good?
Yep.
Okay. So, we're talking about lower level raising our emotional vibration. So I say right now, we're just going to get into some of the movements. I guess, again, is 1,000 years old. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to step back and I'm going to show two movements. And then I'm going to invite you to get up into a space where you can stretch out your arms and reach up if you can. And invite you to try it, see how it works. Now, if you have limited mobility, I mean, I've worked with people with frozen shoulder, they can only move their arms so much. You do what you can. At no point during what we're doing should any pain be involved. So if you're feeling any bit of discomfort, then go back to a set position where you feel okay and try it again. We've also worked with people that have very limited mobility from the neck down. If you're watching and that's your experience, then you can just watch mindfully. Because what we're doing together by doing this is we're sending out positive vibrations out into the universe. It is felt on some level. If one person is being mindful regularly in any environment, a home environment, a work environment, then that place becomes more peaceful as a result. Of course, the more people that do it, the more peaceful it will become. We can start with just ourselves, just to practice mindfulness. And how we're going to do it is we're just going to do it so that it only takes a few seconds to get you started to practice this a few times a day. Okay, so I'm going to get up and I'm going to show you the movements.
Thanks, Brad. And like Brad said, you can also do this modified. So if you are not able to stand up, then you can do it sitting down. And if you have a different ability where you can't move at all, Arthur, founder of the Gatehouse, used to say, you can even raise your eyebrows mindfully. And I know it might look kind of silly to some folks, but it's all about capacity, and where you're at is where you're at. So we acknowledge each and every one of you for watching and spending some time with us and engaging with us on mindfulness. Thank you, Brad. I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, so the first thing we want to do is just unlock the knees. What happens when stress comes our way? The energy of the body goes up and we hold it up into our shoulders, our neck, our lower back. So we're just going to unlock the knees. And we're going to start with a bow. It's going to look like this. As you notice, I'm bending from the hips. My palms and my fingers are touching. Of course, this is significant in that it respects that this energy has struggled 1,000 years to come into whatever space you're in right now, virtually. But it also closes a circuit in the body. And it acts like energy. So that even if you're sitting at your desk, you do that mindfully. If you practice the movements that we're doing, your body would automatically just relax. So these are the movements that we're going to do today. That's the first movement. As you noticed, or may have noticed, when I reach up, I'm leading with the heel of my palm, and then I open. That unlocks some of the energy that gets trapped in our shoulders. So you push up, you'll feel the stretch in your arm and down your body, and then you open and unlock the shoulders. That's the first move. The next move is the second move, but it has two movements. That movement balances the yin yang energy. So you're reaching up to heaven and down to earth on both sides. So it regulates the yin yang energy, the masculine, feminine, however you want to define that. And at the end of the movement, again with the shoulders, you pull back a little bit. Pull back a little bit. Again, it unlocks tension in the shoulders, and it also opens the area and energy around the heart. You want that to breathe. That's where your nature comes from. Your nature comes from your heart. That's the liaison between this world and the love that brought us into this world. So we need to take care of it. And we need it to be open. See, these movements as well, they're very vulnerable movements. How many of you out there have ever put your hand up in class at school and then got shot down and then it was like this? See, when we open up, we're allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. That's where the energy starts to move. And the very last movement, which I call the reset movement, because it happens a few times during the forum, it's just that okay. So what I would like to invite you to do is to stand up if you can, get into a place, get your feet into a place about shoulder width apart. I'll give you a minute to do that or a moment to do that. And while we're doing that, your spine is nice and straight. Your vision is wide. What does wide vision mean? That you see the ceiling, you see the floor, you see both sides of the room while looking straight ahead. It's your peripheral vision. Notice in lower level emotions like hatred, they narrow and target. If we want to get up into joy, appreciation, those emotions expand and include. When you're feeling joyful and appreciative, you want to bring other people into that experience. When you're feeling vengeance or hatred or any of those emotions, you want to try to thrust that emotion off and pin it to somebody. As if by pinning it to somebody, you can get rid of it. You can't do that because whatever you give and receive is the same thing in truth. So when we offer love, love expands within us. scale at some point. Okay, so hope everybody that can stand is here with us. Feet are shoulder width apart, spine is straight, vision is wide, and we're gonna bow. And now you're just gonna follow me. I'm in a position now where I need one hand to speak, so I lose a hand. So just follow. You can't do it wrong. Again, if you're feeling any kind of pain, you just stop it. There should be no pain. So now what I would invite you to do is just have a seat wherever you're sitting and just be silent for a few seconds and see if you feel any kind of energy coming through your body. Awesome. So now we just want to process that somehow.
Thanks, Brad. And one of the tools, it'll be up on Brad's website later on today. So if you want to check out stepintothecreative.com, that's Brad's website. It's a processing worksheet. So it's just a sheet that invites you to reflect on your thoughts, feelings, any behaviors that you noticed. For example, I'll give you an example of one of mine. Sometimes when I do this meditation, you notice I might go a little bit faster. And it's something that happens within me trying to rush things. And it's like, no, I have to mindfully step back and slow down. So I did catch myself there. Thinking thoughts of peace for me and feelings of peace. And also in my body, I noticed that one of my shoulders cracked as we were doing this in a good way. I was like, oh, this is great. There was some tension there. And I feel super grounded and peaceful right now, Brad. So thank you very much for sharing that with us. I'm super excited to continue along the journey with you over these next 3 other weeks.
Okay, great. So the idea here is what I would like to hopefully encourage you to do is to take a few moments every day to practice this. We'll do this. There's all kinds of different really great ways. Mindfulness. things that we can do, things that we can explore. But this is a very easy one to do and incorporate into your daily life. For instance, when you get up in the morning and your feet hit the floor, one thing you can do to start raising that emotional set point is to say thank you. Whatever is going on in your day, whether you had a good sleep, a bad sleep, your feet hit the floor, you're breathing, thank you. If you stretch every morning, let's incorporate a mindful stretch. You set your feet hit the floor, and then a call to action like, okay, I'm ready to face the day. When we intentionally look to face the day with a positive expectation, more positive things are going to come. And the negative things are there too. It's just what are we choosing to look at? Einstein had a great quote that said we have a fundamental choice. Do you live in a hostile universe or do you live in a friendly universe? I know, and Maria and I and people from the gatehouse that are watching this know that the world feels hostile when child abuse is part of your experience. And that's natural, it's normal. But if we want to get to higher levels of feeling, then we need to do something to interrupt that. We need to take out that, flame sensor that's within us, take an inventory of our emotions, clean off the ones that aren't serving us anymore, and set an intention to raise into higher vibrations. You notice when you go to my homepage, there'll be a link there that you can click and see this episode again. And on there, it's an emotional scale developed by Esther Hicks. I find it very helpful. I'll tell you how I use it a little bit differently in the next section. But if you look at that emotional scale, and if you break down at the bottom of despair and all of that, even moving into anger is a bit better than that. It's energized. We want to intend to move up to joy and happiness. That's where we really want to be. Inner peace is what we really want. We want achievement, or we want to contribute. We want to be acknowledged, all of those things. We want to love. We want to feel love. But that's all leading to a sense of inner peace, being connected to your purpose on the planet, being connected to those gifts that are waiting to expand into the world. And sometimes when I say this, I have people, well, I don't know what my gifts are. I don't know. I've been in these emotions for so long, and that's okay. When you will offer a gift, it can be as simple as smiling at somebody. A smile can affect somebody. You can save a life by smiling and acknowledging that person. Somebody that feels so alone, so isolated, so left out. This person comes along and offers a smile. It's really, really powerful. And of course, the gatehouse is all kinds of great things of being with people in their pain and their suffering, how to be with instead of do for, doing nothing well, which is mean being present. It means being present in somebody else's pain. It's a really, really big thing. So we want to raise ourselves up into those higher level emotions so that when they come down, there's a natural pull upward. You're going to feel a natural pull. It's like I really feel lousy. Oh, so when I do this movement, I feel a little bit better. And we're going to talk next week about how we close off and we think we're being protected. We'll do a little exercise where we want to open up a little bit at a time, raising our emotional set points a little bit more every time, and feeling better in the world. Your life is supposed to feel good to you. inside of you, when you clean out that flame sensor, will support you on your path. Whatever wrong path, right path you've taken, it's like there's a GPS in us. When we clean off that sensor, that will guide us back and it will allow us to serve and deliver our gifts. It's less important exactly what the gifts are than that they're being expanded from your heart, from the love that brought you into the world. That's really where we want to be.
That's so beautiful, Brad. I really love um, what you said about what are you going to contribute, like what you can contribute. And that's one of the longings that you talk about in a lot of your talks and trainings, that we all want to contribute. We all want to be part of someone else's experience, our own experience. We want to be present for others in our life. So even that as a grounding statement, in addition to gratitude, what are you going to contribute for yourself and for others today? And it doesn't have to be anything financial or monetary. Like you said, a smile, a piece of gratitude given to other people. I can't tell you how many times I receive texts from people saying, I hope you have the most wonderful day today, and thank you for being in my life. That is so beautiful. Like I usually start my day in tears with those messages, but I'm kidding. But sometimes they do make me cry, actually, but not usually during the beginning of the day. I love receiving those messages, and I also give those out to people in my life who are meaningful and important and have been there for me as well. So it's really important to express gratitude for things that you have, for qualities or gifts that you bring to the planet too. If you are having a hard time finding something to be grateful for, it could be something as quote unquote simple as seeing, right? Like you can open your eyes today and you can see, I'm grateful that I have a voice, I can speak, and I could talk to Brad and his voice is unique and he can speak and he's been through so much and he's here today. Like there's so many things to be grateful for at the end of the day. And mindfulness and practicing moving meditation and these kinds of activities that we're going to be doing over the next 4 weeks may help you to foster more feelings of contentment, more moments of gratitude in your own life. So thank you everyone for being here and engaging with us today. Brad, I wanted to maybe talk a little bit more about gratitude and how people can maybe, what are some things they can do to incorporate more mindfulness? So you mentioned one of the movements, any other processes today that you want to share that they can incorporate?
Yeah, I think just staying with the movements we did today, you can go to my website and see them done again. You can see them done here again. I did a show with Rogers a number of years ago, and it breaks it down pretty good. But don't make it too technical. Make it easy. If you're walking along and maybe you have a timer set, oh, I need to be mindful. Unlock the knees, focus the back. I know there's a lot of people out there are really busy, but you can do that anytime. If you do that a few times a day, it's my promise to you that you'll be more ready and able to manage the conflict and negativity in the world with a better sense of vision, openness. Going back to what you said earlier, if somebody is verbally attacking you, for instance, it's not about you. It's about those low level emotions that are looking to be thrown out. We've all done it in some way, shape, or form. We see it play out in violent ways across any city or country. We just want to be present when you're sitting at a desk. If you sit at a desk all day, this movement here can out the energy. Stand up, do this, do the reset movement, and just see how that feels for you. Then my goal is to make it so simple that you get benefits from it without having to take much time. And what happens is there's a few teachers, but one class, they did auditing every day before they started. The teacher came in one day, like for 2 weeks. The teacher came in one day during the second week and said, I don't really feel like doing it. We don't have to do that today. And I said, no, we got to do that. We want to do that. So the teacher was learning about the energy that you foster, this energy in your body. When it feels good, it's going to call you back to it. But we need to build the habit of doing it. If you miss a day, don't beat yourself up, because then you're in those low level emotions again. Just go, oh, I missed a day. That's okay. Today is now. We just want to spend more time being present. And this is a very slow meditation, but Kung Fu is just about that. Can you be mindful when you got 3 or 4 attackers coming at you? Can you be mindful when you get beaten up by your teacher every day and thrown to the floor? Can you be more present and say, this isn't about me, this is about my growth, my development? So if you're in low-level emotions, just be okay with that. Say, it's about my development, but I really want to be up here. What can I do today? And if you ask that at the beginning of the day, you'll find opportunities all through the day that will give you 5 seconds, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, or maybe you want to spend an hour once a week doing yoga or Kung Fu or whatever. That's really great. What's really important about what I'm encouraging you to do is building a habit every day or a few times a day to do this, because less is more if you do it every day. And most of us have a habit in those low-level emotions. When I had my laryngectomy in 2016, I was in despair emotions for months. I couldn't speak. I was in so much pain. But I had 20 years of Kung Fu training before that. And I knew if I lived, that I had already set my emotional set point up, but I was in those low-level emotions for a long time. Don't get discouraged if you don't find you're climbing really fast. It's okay. You're doing great. If you're watching this right now, it's amazing. You're looking for ways to feel better. That's really all you need to do.
That's so great, Brad. And thank you for saying that. Like, I think a lot of people put a lot of pressure on themselves to do things like, for example, perfectly, or sometimes they can take things into excess and do it all the time and maybe injure themselves. So it's really important to do this mindfully, taking a step back and observing. I did a show with Stuart a couple of weeks back on self-care. So integrating mindfulness practices as part of your self-care plan is definitely something to consider to helping you move forward from trauma. And as Brad said, these lower level emotions of guilt, shame, anger, and moving into spaces of self-compassion and self-empathy and empathy and gratitude for others and yourself as well. Thank you, Brad. It's been such an awesome hour. Almost we're at 50 minutes already. I can't believe it. The time has flown by. I am going to check the comments section of our Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube accounts after the show, and I will comment on any questions that you have, and I'll forward them to Brad as well. You can check out his website, stepintothecreative.com, and our website is thegatehouse.org. So we put that up on the screen there under our names. And yeah, it's been great, Brad. Thank you so much for doing this with me. I'm feeling super grounded. This is awesome. All right. So next episode will be on the 29th at 12 p.m. And I've posted a little social post on our pages, and it will be also available on Brad. Brad has a Facebook page, Step Into the Creative, as well. So do like and follow his page. Are you on Twitter as well, Brad?
Yeah, but I'm not.
As an individual. Okay. Okay. Very cool.
I'll try to get a little bit better.
Join the Twitter crowd. Awesome. All right. So we'd like to hear from you and your experiences. Feel free to comment, ask questions, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. I'm pretty active on social media, so we'll be checking today for sure. Yeah, like I said, thank you so much on behalf of the Gatehouse for being here today. And Brad, if you want to maybe say a couple of closing statements, and we'll end the episode today.
Great. Well, thank you, Maria. Thank everybody for watching. It's really important that the more of us, if you want the world to be more peaceful, just become more peaceful. And automatically the world is more peaceful for you being more peaceful. And and stress, because we can't always control the external world forever. What we can control is how we feel about the external world. We don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are. And if you want to see the world as friendly and up into those higher level emotions, then we have to do something about our inner state. If we see the world as fearful and hostile, then we want to switch that around. That's something that's a perception we can switch. Paradigms are difficult to switch, so make sure you give yourself a break and you don't expect everything to switch really quickly. We're in a very conflictual energy in the world right now. We're at the noisiest time in all human history. To sit down and be quiet for a few moments a day is really powerful. And it says to you, you're saying to yourself, I'm important, my well-being is important, and I'm good. I'm good enough to deliver my gifts into the world. So we'll expand on these concepts next week on the next session, and we really hope that you invite friends and come back. And mostly it's just to practice these movements and see if they're a good tool for you to feel more peaceful more often.
Thanks so much, Brad, and thank you again, everyone, for being here. Please feel free also to share the video on your social media channels to raise more awareness, and maybe someone in your circle needs to do a little bit more mindfulness in their life too. Thanks, everyone. See you on the 29th at 12 p.m. Thanks so much, Brad.